Morality is a hard thing to define since it can be quite subjective. It differs across people with different cultures. Some thinkers like Aristotle believe that morality is learned, that we're born as immoral creatures, while Sigmund Freud believed that we're born as a moral blank slate. Thomas Hobbes thinks humans need society and rules to rein our instincts and to be civilized. Jean-Jacques Rousseau and some others think otherwise, that somehow society causes man to be greedy and unequal by the class system in society. Morality helps us to differentiate between what's good and what's bad. But it's especially problematic when we realize that people can have different morals and that morals are not universal. Now here comes the question of whether our morals are inherited or learned, the old debate of the nature versus nurture problem. For the nature side of things, Charles Darwin claimed that our moral sense is derived from social instincts. It developed first so that humans could profit from living in societies and groups formed as a product of our instinct. Our moral sense is utilitarian because we ought to create the greatest good for the most number of people. But why do some people still do immoral things? Well, some argue that morality is taught and learned. Parents who are sensitive to other people's feelings may influence the moral development of their children. Lawrence Kohlberg identified three moral reasoning: pre-conventional, where people don't have a moral code and learn it through the environments or adults and the consequences of breaking those moral values; conventional level, where morals are internalized from valued adult role models. The last one is post-conventional, where moral judgment is based on self-chosen principles. People have to go through each moral stage, and the latter will replace the former. So nature and nurture both influence each other. They cohabitate. But of course, to convince us even further, we have to do some tests and experiments. This time, we're using the so-called moral blank slates, a creature at the center of moral and philosophical debates of men, a creature that can talk, can express their philosophies, and according to Rousseau, a perfect idiot, knowing nothing, yet they can tell us a lot about human nature. What is that, do you ask? Well, they're brand new humans, or in other words, babies. Some researchers at Yale University found some babies and did some tests on them. Using a puppet show, the researchers created characters who are mean and who are good. They showed a story to the babies, and then they gave those babies the puppets that were used in the show to play with, one who is mean and one who is good. Surprisingly or unsurprisingly, the babies choose the characters that are seen as good. In some other set of experiments, they even concluded that babies punished the mean characters, implying that babies have a sense of right or wrong. However, they also saw a glimpse of how biases and prejudice form when babies prefer those who have similar preferences to them than those who are different. So yeah, maybe our slates are not as blank as we thought they were. We know that evil is bad, but why do we like it? I mean, not carrying the acts of evil, but the appearance of it. Like, we have a keen interest in knowing about serial killers, tyrants, and villains. We think stories about overly good people are boring. It's the bad guys, the villains, that hold our interest. But why do we like the dark side? Philip Zimbardo thinks that such knowledge can help us identify evil and resist it when necessary. Having a keen interest in evil doesn't make you evil unless you want to imitate the things you see. Take it like morbid curiosity. Carl Jung was fascinated with the idea of a personal shadow, an exploration of the human dark side, a representation of everything flawed, selfish, and based in us. And having that knowledge is essential for growth. He said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So, while knowing about evil can be unsettling, it can be beneficial. If you have an interest in the horrific, you can escape the potentially harmful stimuli in the future and warn others of its dangers. Something that women are inclined to true crime books because of the potential life-saving knowledge from reading them. Detailed knowledge can even guide our moral instincts. When Zimbardo carried out his infamous Stanford prison experiment where guards abused prisoners with impunity, he showed how fast ordinary people can do depraved acts in a toxic environment. He calls it situational evil, and this insight helped some organizations take steps to prevent such abuses in the future. Understanding evil can act as a kind of inoculation against it. When students take a course in Holocaust and genocide studies, they say it awakened their desires to make changes in the world around them. a similar study by the Scottish government also gave the same result. But it is possible to overdose on evil, that your outlook darkens and you descend into apathy. So you have to see the pattern of your fixation on evil. If you obsess over photos of victims of serial killers or trying to help serial killers, it may not be helpful to you or other people. But if you can raise awareness about it to other people to help fight more evil, it can be productive or even virtuous. Paul Hus found that narcissism is linked to two other unpleasant characteristics, Machiavellianism and psychopathy. These three traits are called the dark triad. He found that narcissism and psychopathy are largely genetic, but not Machiavellianism, implying that it's learned. Some of these traits, like moral Machiavellianism and communal narcissism, are sometimes used for good. For example, to be a prime minister, you can't be namby-pamby. You have to cut corners and hurt people, and sometimes even be nasty. Even Mother Teresa had a dark side. You can help society by sitting at home and being nice. From a more philosophical perspective, some philosophers have argued that humans are inherently selfish and motivated by self-interest, even in altruistic acts. People who do charity do it because charity gives them more satisfaction than they get from spending the money on themselves. They do it to feel good. All our actions, no matter if we do it for ourselves or for others, are done to benefit ourselves. But if all actions are done to benefit oneself and to prevent harm, what about people who harm themselves? Socrates argued that this only occurs because of ignorance. Ignorance of not knowing what will benefit them or not knowing how to stop evil from happening. Either not knowing what will benefit them the most, not knowing the correct method to get the benefit, or not knowing how not to do something that is harmful to them. Socrates said that one drinks medicine for long-term health, even though one doesn't want to do it because it is unpleasant. Tyrants also don't kill or exile people simply because they want to, but because it conduces to their own good. Alcoholic knows what they're doing is bad, but they do it anyway, unable to resist. So if a person knows that they're acting wrongly, but is unaware of how to overcome the factors that force them to take wrong actions, then they do it out of ignorance, not because they choose to harm themselves. So, if our intrinsic sense of good and evil is reduced to the need to increase pleasure and reduce pain, then no one does evil willingly, and evil is only done through ignorance. We may not come to the world as blank slates, and we're capable of showing both evil and good in ourselves. Sometimes, it highly depends on our environment and our experiences, but we have a lot of control over our actions, and learning about evil can help prevent more evil. Evil is also necessary, as long as you don't overdo it. Such is the case with being a leader, especially with Machiavellian principles, because to them, the well-being of the state is of the utmost importance. This multifaceted nature of evil shows how complex it truly is. It shows us that evil is not fully black and white, and hopefully, we can learn something from it. Thank you. Happy New Year, guys! 2023 has been a very good year for my personal growth, and a kinda good year for my channel too. This year started off quite badly, with the atrocities happening in Gaza, and the earthquake in Japan, and other tensions in the Middle East. And sometimes, it's just too much, and I can't do anything to help the poor innocent people who are trapped directly. I can only hope that things will get better for them, and for all of us. Hoping for a better year in 2024, and even though I can be quite pessimistic, I also want to be hopeful. Anyway, have a good one. Bye.